Cheerio, Rob Ferretti here in London, trying not to talk in a terrible English accent, but that's failed already. But first time in the UK, believe it or not. I've been all over the world, but I usually avoid the UK. And the steering wheel is normally over there. But I got Dan with me, so
hey,
got somebody to fill out the police report if anything does happen. Wish me luck. I am going to drive a car I've been super excited to drive for the last, or I've been hoping to have the chance to drive for the last 8 years, 9 years, and you will find out what it is shortly.
All right, and here it is. This is the BAC Mono, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I've been excited about this car since I first saw it. Just the idea of essentially a Formula 3000 car for the streets. It's just the emotions that you get when you see this, you turn into a kid. You look at it and you're like, I wanna drive that. And that's exactly what I feel. And luckily, I've got the opportunity to do that right now. There's one waiting right in the loading dock, and as soon as the UPS guy gets up out the way, I'm getting behind the wheel. All right, before we go take it out for a ride, let's take a look at the shop, see how these things are put together, and get a better understanding of what I'm about to drive. So it's a Motune Ford engine. It's a 4-cylinder, makes over 300 horsepower, and that's pretty solid. I mean, for a car that weighs 1,200 pounds, 320 horsepower is enough to get the job done. Now here's the cockpit. This is essentially what you're sitting in. Not essentially, this is what you're sitting in. This is the meat and potatoes. There's the 3 pedals and the dead pedal down there. And the seat options, obviously, you can configure depending on your size. This is the first time anyone's ever called me up before I drove something and said, hey, I need your measurements so we can set the car up for you. That's cool. So this isn't like a toss the keys to your buddy sort of car, because you can always use that excuse. I'm like, I'm sorry, it's just, you're not gonna fit. And I mean, you're very basic here. You're talking transmission, engine, and this exhaust. When you're in this car, you know you're in this car. This is not a car where you're talking on your cell phone or paying attention to anything other than driving. And I think that's a good thing for the world. I think more people should be driving these. I think everybody should drive one, because then nobody would be on their cell phone. Everyone would be paying attention to what they're doing. And let's not get into fuel efficiency or anything like that, but the world would be a slightly safer place, because at least the worst part about driving is that people don't pay attention. With this, you have to. This is gonna be fun. And I'm on the wrong side of the road. The vibrations is awesome. I feel like I'm strapped to an Acme rocket and I'm about to get launched, and this is cool. The cold air, I don't care. I like this. The noises, the vibrations, all amazing. Not often that I can't think of something to say, but I'm just trying to enjoy this. It just feels planted and just, wow. I want to go do that again.
What you think?
It's awesome. It's like super fun. Look at this thing. It is all race car with just
the right amount of street car. And when I say the right amount of street car, there's no cup holders, there's no radio, there's no windshield wipers, because this is your windshield. But it is just buckets of fun. It's a carbon fiber body. The thing weighs 1,200 pounds, which is nothing. It's got a over 300 base horsepower, which is amazing for something that weighs so little. It just goes. The torque is there. It's a sequential gearbox, which is actually not as difficult to drive as you would think it is. It's got similar, if you look at the paddles here, it's got the upshift paddle and the downshift paddle. Now, obviously, you look at the steering wheel and you're like, wow, that's a lot of little buttons. Well, they all have a purpose. The only one you really have to concern yourself with is the green one right there, which is your neutral button. And then you have your upshift and your downshift levers. The only exception is that makes this different than the ease of use of, say, a Ferrari or Lamborghini is you can't just put it in neutral at any speed. You can only put it in neutral from first or reverse. And to put it in neutral, you have to use that button to select neutral. So it's really, the learning curve is like that much, but when you get the hang of this thing is just oodles of fun. Can I say oodles? I guess I can say oodles, because like I feel like a kid when I'm out in this thing. It's just, I've driven cars, and I've driven lots of cars, and this is the car that I want to drive when nobody else is around. No, I mean, this is genuinely, anyone on the road now annoys you. You just want to go and just cut loose. It's great taking this car through like the Alps, driving it anywhere where you just have some nice twisty mountain roads that you can just go out and have a blast. This thing has got grip, it's got power, it brakes, and it looks pretty cool too. Like, don't get me wrong, the thing that you can't replicate with a street car is the look and feeling of sitting in a center seat. I mean, look at it from the outside. It's that cool from the inside. Sitting in a center seat position here, you get to just see everything. The only thing that I think you don't get that you will get in an open wheel car is you don't actually see the tires when you're driving. And that was one of those cool things that when I drove open wheel, it was like, oh cool, the tire's like right there. But this is the way to make that streetable, because part of the problem with the tires being right there is they throw stuff up. So you need to sort of protect the rocks and the other debris that you're not going to really encounter on a racetrack that you will encounter on the street. You now have to deal with, and they did in that way. Now, how do you make a race car a street car? Well, it's pretty easy. Most places require taillights, brake lights, reverse lights, some sort of muffler. Those are rain lights, but I don't know if the rain lights are really required. And then you need side mirrors, which are there, and headlights. Other than that, it's all race car with just the right amount of functionality to get away with using it on the street. Now, this car wins in multiple aspects. It wins when you park it in your garage because everybody wants to go sit in it and say like, oh cool, you have a race car. And it also wins when you get to drive it, because when you get to drive it, I mean, I am telling you, it is an experience that is virtually second to none with it. It's what you would think of if you put a race car in the street. And everyone's got, I had that vision dating back to when I first started making videos. I wanted to bring like a race car on the street. And now I've done that. It's taken me about, I mean, aside from my Corvette turned race car, this is a full-blown race car essentially on the street. And it took me about 16 years to do it, but I just checked that bucket list item for good. All right, so that was, as I expected, a life-changing experience. I will always remember the day I flew to London, drove across the country to drive this. This thing was phenomenal. I can't even, I mean, I've tried to describe what it's like to drive something like this. You just have to experience it. It's just like drinking a case of 5-hour energy drinks and chasing it with a Red Bull. It's just amazing. But if you want to see this car or a similar car, Manhattan Motor Cars, now Brian Miller over there, where I bought many cars from, is now a dealer, and he's going to be selling these things. So if you want to drive around New York in one of these things or anywhere else, there's a good place to start. Thanks for watching. See you next time. For those of you not familiar with my other company, I started a company called Adventure Drives, which combines driving and bucket list travel. So it's a lot of fun. Our next trip is up to the Northern Lights in Iceland at the end of February. We're going to be doing snowmobiling on glaciers, off-roading, taking a dip in the Blue Lagoon, and drinking whiskey until we're silly. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
After that, we're off to Europe for a trip in July. If you're interested, prices can be done per person. It starts at about $3,000 per person for Iceland. Don't worry, if you don't have somebody to go with you, we can match you up with somebody. You can check the link in the description for adventuredrives.com and sign up today.